To start off, would you say and spell your full name?
Michelle Bawden, Michelle
Stephenbawden.
And where are the Bawdens from?
Cromwell, England. You know, if you really, we have people in our family that study it that go back 6, 7, 8 generations, but they were all a band of crazy people. So some of them ended up in Cuba and then came to Pennsylvania and then
New Zealand.
a lot of New Zealand. Yeah, I've met a lot of Bawdens, guys named Bawden, and they're from New Zealand. If you look in the St. Louis phone book, there's only one Bawden, and it's us. So, but so somehow they all ended up migrating in and around the Quad Cities and Davenport in the Midwest.
And what's your maiden name?
St. Clair.
And where are the St. Clairs from?
Oh, golly. My grandma was, well, I can't go immediate. So going back, we're Irish, Scottish, German. So, but where they came from before they landed in the Quad Cities, I don't know.
Any idea what brought them here?
No, I don't. Everybody died early before all the ancestry stuff got going, and that's one of those things I feel like I'll go down a rabbit hole if I start. So we have some of it. Some of it is there, but not a whole lot. It was Muscatine, Quad Cities, there.
Where did you grow up?
Davenport, Iowa.
What was it like in Davenport, Iowa?
Awesome. Great stories. A little wild, I think my parents sometimes think that they always would have done birth control. Crazy place. We were all drinking by the time we were 16. I rode my bike to a bar, but it was 18, and I had a lot of best friends. They always say when you turn 70, if you look back and you think of 3 or 4 of your very, very best friends, you probably met them before you were 25. And so my best, I have good friends here. We're not from here, but my best friends are guys that I got in trouble with and drank a lot of cold beer. A lot of sports, a lot of athletics. I was a big fat tackle.
Yeah?
But, my brother ahead of me was a good athlete, played a lot of golf. But Davenport is an anomaly in that when you meet a lot of people, I am very surprised 6, 7, 8, 9 of my friends have become extremely successful. And I always wonder if it was in the water in Davenport, Iowa. Because they left and they became real successful.
What was Davenport, Iowa like for your childhood?
Great. I spent a lot of time with my grandma, which I loved. I'm one of 4, and my sister's 11 and 7 years older, and then 7 years younger is a brother. So I was kind of hanging like an only child in there while my mom's dealing with everybody else. So I spent a lot of time with my grandma. It was great. I loved it. Yeah, very simple. Not, I was not doing what he was doing. So
No. People
No.
thought they're like, why in God names when you date him?
What was your grandma like?
Oh my gosh, the quintessential grandma with the black orthopedic shoes and the dresses and the little gray curly hair, and she made everything, and everything she made, she cooked from scratch, and I would spend what feels like to me every weekend with her. And we had our whole routine, our whole ritual with pancakes and eggs on Friday night. We'd play card games, and her sister, my aunt, she never married, so they lived together. And church on Sunday, and it was great.
Grew up a good Catholic gal. Both Michelle's parents worked, so she was pretty much taking care of Michelle.
Was that unusual at the time?
No, I think a lot of it had to do with the big split in the age. So, you've got 2 girls in high school and 1 in elementary school or junior high, and then another one that's like a baby.
3 years old.
So I think she wanted to work. So
How many siblings did you have?
3. I'm the youngest of 4. I have a sister who lives in Davenport. I had a brother who I've talked about before, who stayed in Davenport and ran the family business there. My sister above me was a lot of fun because she was 2 years ahead of me at Northwestern. So we could actually meet and bump into each other and do stuff there. And then I'm the youngest of 4.
And what did your parents do for a living?
My dad actually was, and I couldn't go to World War II. He was deferred. He was working in an iron mill, and the bucket broke and splashed on his legs. So it's an interesting story. I never ever saw my dad in short pants or a swimsuit because of, and needless to say, he didn't go to World War II. He went to St. Ambrose College in Davenport, University of Iowa Law School, became an attorney, was the kind of guy, DNA, did not like the negative downer part of being in it. My dad was a very up social, vivacious guy. And in 52 or 50, his father was 60 years old and dropped dead, was starting a small printing and graphic arts firm that was really scrappy, undercapitalized. And my dad moved in and started running and took it and ran it. So he worked hard. He worked himself to death. And I always remember the company only had one car, which was the delivery car. So when all the deliveries made at the end of the day, he could finally come home. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom and, raised us 3 kids, and just an amazing mother. I mean, scrubby Dutch, amazing cook. And he was probably not a very easy guy to live with. But she did amazing. My parents were.
What did your mother cook that you remember?
My college friends would come home from college and go to my parents' house. They wouldn't go to their own parents.
What'd your mother cook that you remember?
She made great spaghetti. She's the one that got me, I think, on lamb chops. She was a good baker. We always kidded her. She was so cheap that when the in-laws moved and they saw how cheap my mom was when she was cooking, Michelle and the other sister and daughter-in-laws just thought. But she always used to kid us that she'd boil hot water and put it in a red bowl and tell us it was tomato soup. But she was a good cook.
What about you? Were you a good student in school?
yeah, I liked school. I always enjoyed school. So I'd say, yeah, I was. I liked.
Our graduating grade point averages, she beat me by a 10th. She was like a 3.8, and I was like a 3.7 or something like that.
Yeah, there was no such thing as over 4 point back then. None of this overachieving stuff. But yeah, I liked science. I did not like English. Hated English.
And what did you imagine you would grow up to be when you were a little kid?
So originally, I thought I was going to be a teacher. And then I decided I didn't like to babysit, so that was out. There was no way I was going to do that. I love my own kids. I don't want to babysit. And then I went to accounting. I was going to do that. And then I ended up in dental hygiene. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm all over the board. But science is a good place for me. Yeah.
She left Iowa State because the only dental school in Iowa was University of Iowa. So her 4-year degree was actually from the University of Iowa.
And I think it was like a science degree.
And you two met while you were in grade school?
Junior high.
Junior high.
Junior high, yeah.
How did you meet?
Do you really want that?
No, don't tell that. We'll tell you off camera. That's pretty. It's
Yeah.
pretty foul.
Well, in a funny way, but yes.
And at what point did you start dating?
After 10th grade. The summer after 10th grade.
I was dating a girl and I broke up with her, and then I was so afraid because we were completely different people that she would be shocked if I were to call her. And so I asked 2 or 3 girls, could any of you approach Michelle St. Clair to say, would you ever go out on a date with Steve. And we went on a date. It was a
Yeah.
total failure. It was, yeah.
Well,
Because here's Polly purebred, and I took her out to dinner, and it was amazing because while she was in high school, she was a diver. So I said, I'm going to bring her to my country club, get her on the high dive, and just be blown away by the inward gainers and all this kind of stuff. And took her to dinner, and then afterwards we went to a movie.
oh yeah.
Easy Rider.
Worst movie ever to
Yeah.
go on a date
What's his name?
with.
Gets him on the back of the motor pickup, comes with a shotgun and blows Dennis Hopper right off the back of it. I'm like, oh, God, that's the last date I'm ever going to have with her.
Let's go get ice
She
cream.
wanted to go to Disney. Yeah.
Terrible movie. Yeah.
And what made you decide to go on a second date?
He was very funny. I need the humor. I like the humor. It's very funny. I think that was, we had fun.
Got my first kiss on the fourth date. I figured it cost me like $65 to get the first kiss.
Darn right.
Yeah. And it was funny because that was our sophomore year, and then there
What
was
was
a
this
funny little bump in
summer
the road
after?
because I became a foreign exchange student my junior year, and outside of Brussels. And I'll be honest with you, I was really homesick.
Yeah. So he was gone the whole summer after 11th grade.
Yeah, so all the fun and the golf and all our friends and all the beer parties. And a lot of my friends would pick her up or take her out or keep her socially active. But
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had enough to do just being in high school. So with everything I was doing. So, yeah.
I was so in love, I could have gotten married after high school, but both our parents wanted us both to have college degrees. And so that's what we said, go to Iowa State, date, and join a sorority, and let's see how we can handle this. And I'll go to Northwestern and, date and go to sorority parties. And I think it was our junior year, I called her up and said, I'm done with this dating stuff. I'm done.
Yeah. Junior year.
And how did your parents like him?
Oh, they really liked him. Yeah. They really liked him. And they didn't, you have to understand, with two girls, 7 and 11 years older, and not very bright about the world, they were not street smart at all. They really had their issues with them. And it was hard on my parents with these two girls. They were both really good looking, and they dated a lot. And my dad would always say, I am not standing up to shake one more guy's hand unless I recognize him. He's like, I'm not going to do it. And so, he came along and he's good with adults, and I think some of these guys were always hiding in the background or whatever, but they liked him right away.
I was pretty intimidated by my father-in-law. He was a real man's man, and I was not a man's man. I was a little more cultural, a little more. He was tough, strong,
Yeah.
blue-collar, home building. And over time, I think he won me over a little bit, but he did scratch his head a little bit because they got married right before he went to World War II. So he was 18 and her mom was like 16. So we're going to college. We're 22, 23. We're not married yet. He's looking at like, I've been married 5 years. It's kind of like, when the heck are you going to get married? And so he scratched his head a little bit. And then we were married 5 years. We little challenged in regards to having kids. And so 5 years go by. Now we're 27, 28, no kids. He scratched his head a little bit. Like Michelle's mother was a grandmother, legit,
36?
at 36.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they were wondering what's going on.
Yeah,
Playing
so they were
babies.
really young, and then my first sister was I think she had her first at 19.
Yeah,
And
grandma
so-
was 17 prior to World War II. The first daughter was 18. That's 35, 36.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Grandparent.
but that's not,
That's Iowa.
You think that? I don't think they thought one way or another. I really.
Oh, no.
Yeah. What we have learned now is that when your kids don't have kids, they're a lot of fun to hang out with because they can relax. they're not scrambling around changing diapers, or somebody's yelling, or somebody's screaming, or somebody's away. And I think they enjoyed that 5 years with us. We'd go over and play cards with them and have them over to dinner and hang out. And yeah, so I think they enjoyed that time. They did not like it when we moved, but.
And you went to Northwestern. What did you imagine you were going to grow up to be?
I wanted to write, and I wanted to be a journalist. And when you go to Medill, or you took the side classes, in the early 70s at Medill, it was all about you were going to get out of there and you're going to go to work for a newspaper. I had no desire to go to work for a newspaper. Obviously, it took 30 years later for digital to kill the newspaper industry. I didn't know where I just knew I didn't want to work in a paper. I wanted to be in a creative, research leading to strategy, leading to creative, with some just amazingly brilliant copywriting. And I bailed and majored in political science and got a lot of offers. I scratch my head sometimes when I think about 2 or 3 of the offers. If I would have gone down that road into large, huge corporations, where I would have been today and how I would have done. I took the easy way out. I couldn't get out of college fast enough to get married, and I went to work for my dad in the family business. Moved back to Davenport, Iowa. Comfort zone.
How did it feel to you to be back in Davenport?
Is that or Gary, Indiana? So
Procter & Gamble wanted me in
Davenport sounded
Gary,
pretty
Indiana.
good.
They tried hard to get us to move there.
Yeah. And both families were all there at the time. So, everyone lived there. So it was
Life
great.
was easy.
Yeah.
It was really easy. I mean, the country club, the pools,
Right.
the golf courses, the meals, everybody having job security, and then
Hanging out at all the holidays. Even though you had to do 2 for every single holiday.
a
You
lot
had
of
to do
our high
2.
school friends came back.
Did life get harder?
In what regard?
Well, he
Or
said life was easy, so.
Oh,
We left.
Moving
Oh,
away. Yeah. That was hard.
That blew people away.
that brought you to St. Louis?
Yeah, I was recruited by a guy here to move here. I'll be darned. Best thing we ever did.
Why?
But it was hard.
Oh, our 3rd child has learning disabilities. So he's reading, writing, and math computation. And so he struggled.
He had a hard time at
Struggled
birth.
in high school.
He had spinal
Oh,
meningitis when he was 3 weeks old. He was in St. John's for
That
a
was
couple months
he
later.
was,
Anyway,
he was a little older, but yeah. But anyway, he just struggled in school. And I don't know if you know about the Churchill School that's here in town. It is a school specifically for kids with learning disabilities. And it takes you from 2nd grade to 10th grade only, because they want you back mainstreamed. And so
you don't graduate from Churchill.
had we not been here, I don't know where he would be. Because
That's
I'm
what
not
we
a
look at.
teacher, so I was incapable of teaching him how to get through what he needed. So as soon as he went there, it's just life changed, and that's the best reason why we're here.
I had no idea after 10 years after leaving Davenport in 90, I had no clue where I would be 10 years later and didn't have a plan. And where I was 10 years later exceeded where I wanted to be in my career, number one. Number two, growing up in Davenport, Iowa, St. Louis, isn't Nashville and isn't Indy, but the point is going to Cardinal games. Our daughter was very involved in school and met her husband here, so we wouldn't have met him. The middle son, as you know, got drafted by the Boston Red Sox and out of high school. And I would say to myself, that Major League Baseball scout would not have been at a ballpark in Davenport, Iowa. And then the youngest one, as we say, got fixed. We thought we'd have a 40-year-old living in our basement, and he got an A- in statistics in college.
Yeah.
So the math is amazing, but if you see his handwriting today, you can't read his name.
He just
so the
had
best
to learn how to learn through everything so that he could retain and learn it all.
and he's
so-
getting married on June 1st.
Yeah. No, he's great.
Thank God for keyboards.
He-
Or
Yeah.
he couldn't. Yeah.
So last question. You're grandparents now. What's that like?
Oh my God, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. People would say, oh, just wait till your grandparents, wait till your and I'm thinking, I have kids. I know what it's like to have little kids. Oh no, it's so different. It's so much more fun because you can give them back when you want to. So that's, kind of nice. I'd keep them forever, but it's just so fun to see this little extension of your child and look at them and say, where did you come from? Or, oh my God, that's exactly what your dad did. Or that's exactly what your mom used to do. Or it's very fun. I love it. I love it.
Do you love being a granddad?
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's great.
What do they call you?
Pop.
And you?
Mimi. Yeah. And actually the father-in-law named me, which was really good because I was going with Nana, Nanny, whatever. And he looked at me and said, why wouldn't you do Mimi? You're Michelle. Am I? I went, oh, duh. So,
Our daughter converted and became Jewish, and the three little boys, go to temple and Sunday school every Saturday. So it's weird to see your 10-year-old grandchild reading Shabbat on Friday night and reading and speaking Hebrew. But doesn't bother us one bit. It's
well, they can hardly wait to come to Christmas. They love Christmas. They love Easter. They love.
They do all of that.
Yeah, they do it all.
I've learned how to say prayers without using the word Jesus. I won't offend anybody. I believe in Jesus, but I'm not going to force it on anybody. Yeah. So, but I, for the last 3 weeks, I have written every one of those boys a letter every 3 or 4 days.
They love getting mail.
So I sit down about every 3-4 nights and I lay out the 3 envelopes and the 3 letters and the string, and I write them all individual letters. And can you believe the Cowboys lost? Or, what are you doing with your money if you're saving all the money you get from me when you make swearing bets? What do you do with it?
So he's the letter writer,
They're
the thinker, and I'm the Lego player.
Oh.
So I do all the Legos with them. Yeah.
Well, Steve and Michelle, thank you so much for coming by to do this.
Thank you.